What's up, everybody? Lion here, the other half of the Clash Brothers. I have not uploaded a video just yet because I've been a little bit busy lately, started a new job, and as you can tell right here, my heroes are upgrading, and so I have been opted out of war for the past couple of weeks, trying to get ready for the CWL. But I thought the war that we were in right now was pretty interesting, and so I wanted to go through just a quick recap of some of my thoughts on it and share that with you guys so that hopefully we can grow as a clan. I think this war in particular is not lost just yet. We're down several stars, but we still have 13 attacks left, have 16 stars to go to tie it all up, and so we can definitely get into it. But I'll let Country Mac do the actual replay of the war. I just wanted to share with you guys what I thought was a very interesting note. I got on the wrong base there. But here we can see base number 8 has this design. And so you got a 78% 2-star by Isaac, but then we go to base number 9, see a similar quadrant style base. They got a 99% from Richard. This is what's interesting. Base number 10, the exact same layout as base number 8. And then we see the same layout for 11, and the same layout for 12, and the same layout for 13, and the same layout for 14 as well. Let me see if 15 is. Yep, and 15 has the exact same layout. And so we've got several of these bases that have the exact same base design. I think what we need to do as a clan is figure out what works and what doesn't, because we can see plenty of 2 stars and also some 3 stars sprinkled in. And so we'll replay one of the first attacks onto this base design. It was by Bocephus, and it was a mass electro drag attack. And so we can see he drops an E-Drag at the 3 o'clock corner as well as the 12 o'clock corner, and they are beginning the funnel for that pretty nicely. And so they're not targeted by anything because quadrant bases are a little bit more spread out, and so usually the defenses can't target too much, and so they're able to get a nice funnel in there. We see a Black Bomb takes out the E-Drag at 3 o'clock, and then we can scroll down, see his heroes are going in, kind of a little bit different from what I was expecting him to attack at the top side, but we see the Stone Slammer getting in, and that's the problem with a lot of these quadrant bases, is that Stone Slammer pathing can be pretty difficult. And we see the balloons are going straight into the sweeper there, and we have not managed to take out the Eagle Artillery. We still have a good chunk of the defenses up, but then he drops the rest of his E-Drags in from the side that he had funneled earlier. And so the goal was to take out the clan castle and the enemy heroes with his heroes, as he did at kind of that second phase of the attack, and then deploying all of his E-Drags. I'm sure he would have liked to get that Eagle Artillery out of the way, but didn't quite happen. But we see he's still got a good chunk of power, and there's only really one direction for them to go in, and that's through the town hall. So that's where they're going. He drops that last haste to make sure the single target gets taken out, and it honestly is a very strong attack. But if we fast forward just a little bit through it, we can see it doesn't quite have the strength because of the range of that X-Bow, and the nature of a quadrant base is to funnel your troops around instead of into the quadrants. And so he manages to finally take out that X-Bow, and then just doesn't quite have the power left to clean up. And so there is probably a way for E-Drags to take out this base, but it is not what was successful for us. Instead, we see, I'll replay Swamp Donkey. Welcome to the clan, Swamp Donkey. We are going to replay your attack onto the exact same base. And before we even get into it, we can see it as a very different approach. He's bringing 7 wizards, 1 dragon, 1 P.E.K.K.A., 21 hogs, a golem, 7 bowlers, and a wall wrecker. And so we're going for a predominantly hog attack on this quadrant style base, which typically, with the way everything is so spread out, if you can predict the pathing, that will go over very well. And so getting into this attack, we see he drops 1 dragon onto the clan castle. Clan castle is in the corner. It is for all of these bases this war. And the dragon is able to take out the baby drag that hops out, and then take out the clan castle, which will destroy any other troops that are inside of it so that they won't come out during the rest of the raid. And so he drops a P.E.K.K.A. onto the right side. It can tank up from the X-Bow pretty well and funnels just a little bit. He drops his golem, and then equal sides drops his bowlers to continue to create that funnel, trying to send the wall wrecker in towards the Eagle Artillery is one of the highest hit point defenses that you're going to be the most worried about if you're doing a hog attack. Puts his heroes in behind his kill squad, and his P.E.K.K.A. is funneling in inside the base towards the town hall, just like he was planning for. We can see the wall wrecker is not being targeted by much besides that X-Bow, and so it is bursting all the way through, taking out the Eagle artillery, and has made it all the way to the town hall, where it will pop automatically, breaking out his giants and his other bowlers. And it's at this point that he starts dropping his hogs onto the far right side, now that a nice kind of horseshoe shape has been carved out for them to follow the pathing. He drops the heal spell, and a few of them break off towards that south side X-Bow, which is a little bit unfortunate because of how high hit point of a building the X-Bows are. It kind of takes out most of the hogs that go over there. But he's got enough up on the top side, and really enough of this base went down in the initial entry, because as you can tell with these quad style bases, there are some good entryways into the core of the base between the quadrants. And so if we're able to take advantage of those entry points, we can get very high value out of particular kill squads. And so then the back end doesn't need to be, 30 something miners in the same way as other attacks, like a Laloon, for example, where the back end would need to be much, much stronger. Here we see so much of the attack was taken out by the core. He still has that one heal spell left. He's got about 5 hogs left. They're able to heal up through that heal spell, get onto the X-Bow, which even though it is a high hit point defense, like we've mentioned, they are able to just barely take it out. And then here he goes to clean up the rest of the base, brought his wizards for cleanup on the backside, doing their part of the work over there. And so we see that Swamp Donkey is able to destroy this base. He's not a max Town Hall 11 by any means. His heroes are only 40, 45, and 8. And he's still able to take out this base because his attack strategy was a little bit more fitting to it. Next, we will look at an example, I think, that actually wasn't shown. I'm going to make fun of Country Mac just a little bit, who usually plays these videos. He got a 71% trying to do a drag bat on this. He drops both of his heroes onto the 3 o'clock side and drops his Lava Hound, several of his balloons. We were actually in the room while he was planning this attack, and so we did think it through, I promise. And here we see his loons are just trying to get in there to take out the air defense, and with 1 loon left, it is just barely able to do that. The tornado trap also goes off. We're not entirely sure what triggered that. If you can find out, let me know in the comments. That'll be great. But then his heroes going off to either side. He's really just opening up this quadrant base as much as he can, trying to take out the 9 o'clock quadrant before going in from the top with his slammer and all of his drags. And we thought, with all of the splash defense being on the top and then the 2 wizard towers in the core, that this would be a perfect base to use drag bat on. And so he is in the middle of the drag bat. The dragons are going just fine. The single target Inferno locks on to the slammer, and so we drop the bats right there to try and keep that up. Just barely takes it down, and you can see the bats split off just a little bit. Several go over to that Tesla, even more go over to the X-Bow afterwards. And there is just a little bit too much point defense and a little bit too much health on that X-Bow for the bats to live through it. And so the rest of the bats that had gone south are staying alive for a minute, but really there's just too much power left between 2 air defenses, 2 archer towers, and the archer queen for this to really work out with a drag bat style base. And so we can fast forward until that dragon goes down to show why this was a 71% 2-star. And then for the exact same base, this will be the last replay, I promise, we see Richard with probably the best executed attack I think we've seen on this style of base. And so Richard is doing his kind of signature E-Drag clone minor attack, but he starts off by dropping the Rage to make sure there won't be a moment where his queen isn't powerful. The queen and the healers are all right behind her, and she takes out the entire clan castle because it is so exposed. As soon as the Lava Hound pops, he pops the queen ability to make sure that she doesn't go down from all of the pups. And then he drops his king to start the funnel going off, hopefully towards the left-hand side, with the queen already funneling just a little bit on the right. Naturally, the king will go over to the left. He triggers some traps and some bomb. I can't remember the name of the troop. The bomb squad goes in to open that up just a little bit, because the slammer, if the defenses are touching the wall, the slammer will break the walls around it. But those defenses were not touching. And sadly, the queen doesn't go towards the slammer, but the slammer has some some decent value while it's getting out some of those defenses. The main part of the Slammer's value in this attack is always going to come from the clones, and then he is lucky that the Queen decides to path towards the Eagle artillery, but she might not be able to get it with the both Expos being on her. But that being said, he clones all of the balloons. The balloons are able to start taking out in the core, and then the E-Drag, nothing is targeting it at all, and so he's going to get fine value out of his E-Drag, and then drops all of his 30 miners from the 3 o'clock side, and you can tell so much of this base has been carved out by the entry because it's spread out, because of that channel to get to the Town Hall that the Queen was able to take. So much of this base has already been destroyed that when you've got 30 miners and 3 heal spells and your Warden ability, you just have way more power than you actually need in order to finish off the base. So the miners are going to work through. We see 1 heal go down, and that compartment doesn't get too many of the miners, but it gets the ones that are targeting the actual defenses. The E-Drag finally goes down. The miners continue to go around, and notice that the heals are being dropped not on the majority of the miners, but on the majority of the defenses. And so while there are only probably about 12 or so of the 30 miners that are actually in the core of the base, that's where the heal spells are going, because that's where the damage is going. And so more of them are getting close to the end of the base as we are able to follow the rest of the attack. Black Bomb finally takes out the last healer, and he's got this heal spell that he probably just doesn't even need. But goes on to use it, make sure that they're topped off. You can swag spells and you can swag hero abilities if you want to, but it is always more important to make sure that the attack itself is a successful 3-star. If we ever see someone swag an ability and it ends up in a 2-star, I don't know if they'll be kicked out of the clan, but there will definitely be a stern talking to whenever that happens. So we see Richard's attack ends up on the Expo, is a 3-star with a ton of power left over. Really, the whole point of the video is to tell you guys this. We're not always in control of how skilled our attacks are going to be against our opponent, or how high leveled our bases are going to be over our opponent, but we are always in control of how much we plan and the level of effort that we put in and how intelligently we handle our wars. When we come against clans that have some obvious pitfalls to them, whether it's 8 identical bases or no clan castle troops or different types of errors that we can see, either in their base building or in their strategy, we should be able to identify that as a clan and be able to overcome it. Dragbat is a very good attack strategy. So is Mass Electron, or Electro Dragons, like we saw Bocephus do. Both of those attacks are very successful 3-star strategies for very high town halls. But this war, they didn't quite work out because they weren't quite suited for those particular bases. And so for the rest of the people that attacked after we see some fails and after we see some successes, what we ought to be able to do as a clan is to mimic the successful attacks on the identical bases to make sure we're getting as many stars as possible. And so that was why we were making this video. Remember to like and subscribe. That helps us out a whole lot and makes us a little bit more visible. This video is for anybody in Senator's Clan. If you are not in Senator's Clan, feel free to hop over to our Discord and put in an application to join. I'll see you guys in the next video.